This is the first of a series of monthly inspirational talks hosted and curated by our friend Matt Bolton Alacon of Special Source Training. After a number of years working in creative and marketing roles, Matt has worked for the last 2 decades in learning and development. He's trained over 30,000 people in 40 countries around the world with companies like Google, L'Oreal and Innocent. This podcast is recorded at Goods Way, which is owned by the Venue Group, who create hospitality concepts across the world that are built on the power of experience. Their spaces in London, Washington DC, Alabama and Texas celebrate the boundary-pushing, genre-defying and one-of-a-kind by bringing culture and community together. Goods Way is their King's Cross venue with 3 unique spaces: Sweetwater, an underground saloon, Lafayette, a state-of-the-art 600-capacity music venue, and Nola's, an 80-capacity hidden speakeasy bar with a secret entrance, which is where this podcast is recorded with a live audience.
The man himself, Matt. A round of applause, please. You'll be better off than saying what we're doing. I couldn't help myself, but yeah.
You can only speak on stage today if your name begins with M. So there we go. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Mel. I'm Matt, everyone. So I'm helping to curate all these sessions, the inspiration sessions, as part of Elevate this year. It won't always be me leading the session. We've got some other great speakers coming on board. But tonight, I've been greedy and got the first one. I'm going to go for it. So, how are you? Good, thank you. That's all I heard, okay? How are you? Asked all over the world. So I'm learning Spanish at the moment. My wife's from Northwest Mexico. I've been trying to get better at Spanish for the last 15 years of marriage. So I know ¿Cómo estás? Okay. Any other how are yous for any other languages? How are you going? Where's that from? Australia. So same language, just, yeah. I love this. So it's just... Anyone else know another language? Any more? Oh, these are good. They were both good. Can you go again? Fantastic. Can I find out what that one is?
It's Polish.
Polish and Afrikaans. There we go. Wie geht es Ihnen? Formal German. Wie geht's, if you want to be cash. Okay. Any others? Ça va? Ça va bien, merci. Yeah, fantastic. So it's a very regularly asked question all around the world. But when people answer that question, they have a stock response. They don't put any thought at all into the answer. Hence, when I said, how are you? The stock response was, good. And then one person was really polite and went, good, thanks. That was it. In a group of about 60 people, that was the stock response. Okay. So what I just want to recognize here is that we are never just good. Fine, okay? I'm from the north of England, actually. We don't say good. You ask any of my family, how are you? They go, not bad. That's as happy as they get. So we're never just fine. We're never just good. There's always more going on, and that's what this session is about this evening. It's all about the power of state. Okay. Now, I haven't got a PowerPoint today, and those that are listening on the podcast, I've got a few visuals, and we'll photo them, and we'll make them part of we'll send through to you on email. But definition of state, it's very, very complex language you're about to see here. It is how you are at any given moment in time. Okay. How you are at any given moment in time. And I've got an argument this evening, which is how you are at any given moment of time is more important than what you know and what you do, okay, or the plan that you've got. It's way more important how you are. So let me see if this resonates with anyone in the room. Some days you are bulletproof, okay? So you're in the office, it's busy, you maybe be on a couple of different projects, and you get these difficult email requests coming through. You're in a meeting and it's really hard to get collaboration going. You get a bit of a confrontation in the office. But everything that happens, it's just, water off a duck's back. No problem at all. You respond to stuff, you stay calm, you're at your best. How many of those days do you have in a week? Let's say you work for 5 days. How many days a week is that? 5. Yeah, 5. Nailed it. You don't need to be here. That's fine. In fact, step up. Double denim, we can do this together. No problem. Yeah. So there we go. We can make a Canadian tuxedo, as they say. So But the very next day, you can have the same type of email request, difficult conversation. And just because that morning you went to a cafe and ordered a flat white and they didn't do it silky enough, you lose your shit. Okay? Same person on each day, but actually how you are has had a massive impact on what's happened and the impact that you've had. Fair to say? Yeah. So the argument tonight is going to be about that. So I'm going to explore, well, what is state? Put a bit of common language around that. Second thing I'm going to do is go, what are some tips to keep you in the best possible state more often? Being realistic, though. I can't have you all totally zen the whole time, responding all the time, never, ever losing it. But what I can say is there's a few tips that can help you be at your best. And then I'm going to zoom in on those high-stakes moments, those moments where you go, there's a bit of pressure on this one. And often that's the moment that can throw us a little bit. I'm going to give you some tips on how do you gear up for those moments. And then we're going to end in a really, really dark place. We are in a dark place. It's a speakeasy. There's actually no lights on stage, so you might not be able to even see me. It's just this voice. But we're going to end by looking at when things go terribly wrong. What can you do as a result of it? So I'm going to end in a really dark place just at the end of tonight, if that's all right. But then lift it with a lovely little story to end on. Sound good? That's a good attitude, because that's the plan we've got. Okay. Podcasters, if you're listening now, the podcast audience, I'm going to do some live interactive stuff as well. But what I will say is every experience that I brief in the room, you can also do at home on your own. You might be talking to a cat, might be someone in the house with you. You can do these exercises. Everyone say hello to everyone listening on podcast. Hello. Hello. How are you? Good, thanks. Good, thanks. Okay. What I'd love to do is a little exercise, okay? Everyone in the corner sat there with a massive bag of crisps and Coca-Cola. Is Benny? Round of applause for Benny. Benny is an amazing DJ, and I have given her a playlist of 2 different songs, right? What I'm going to get Benny to do is play those songs just for 40 seconds, and all I want you to do is notice what happens to you when those songs are played, okay? To make this a little bit more weird, for the next 1 minute 20 of your life, I'm going to get you to close your eyes. Knowing that me and Benny will have our clothes on when you open them again. It's not that kind of show. Podcasters, use your imagination. Okay, everyone close their eyes. Benny, the DJ, track 1, please.
Day of my life, swear I was born right in the doorway. I went out in the rain, suddenly everything changed. They're spreading blankets on the beach. Yours is the first face that I saw.
Keep your eyes closed. DJ Benny is going to play track 2. Notice what goes on for you. Open your eyes, everyone. Welcome back to the Speakeasy. You in King's Cross? Benny and I still have our clothes on. Okay, so 2 very different tracks chosen on purpose. But first track, I'd love to find out what went on for you. So what was your reaction, your response to that first track? Little caveat, I don't need a critique on the music. So I don't need... Actually, when it got to that kind of second refrain, I'd have gone minor, whereas Conor Oberst and the team from Bright Eyes went major. I just want to know what went on for you. What was your reaction? So, first track, what was going on for people? You were chilled?
Had
you went happy, you needed a massage. So you almost were going, okay, something physical will help with this song. Fantastic. So chilled, happy, needed a massage. What else?
Swaying my head.
Swaying your head, a physical response to that tune. Do you mind me asking how quickly it was for you to want to sway your head?
Second, after when they started singing.
When they got going a bit. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, great. Any other responses? But by the way, there's no right or wrong in the response.
Sense of comfort.
Sense of comfort, right. Anything totally different to that?
Summer.
Summer. I went to a different place. It wasn't the weird winter that is April in London. I want to be in a field, with some bees buzzing around. Anyone else? Any other responses?
Nostalgic.
A bit nostalgic. Right, okay. Fine. 40 seconds of a track. Just listen to what's going on. Okay. Very positive, by the way. They're on the track. I played it the other week, the very same song. Someone went, frustrated. I was like, get on with it. It's like, okay. Just so you know, my daughter was born to that song. It was a playlist of baby-related songs. But she was literally born to that. Just a mile from here in our living room. There we go. So I've got a very different connection to that song. Rather than get on, I was thinking get on with it, actually. There we go. It's quite a long birth. Second song, Primal Scream. Okay, from a few years ago. Reactions to that?
My breathing and heart rate, I could notice actually.
Yeah.
Going up a bit.
Wow, okay, so breathing, heart rate, lifting a bit, I could feel that. How long did that take, Max?
10 seconds.
10 seconds. 10 seconds. Suddenly, my body's changed due to a piece of music on in the background. What else? Energizing. I saw a few of you rocking out, by the way. Yeah, I mean, swaying went to rocking on it. Yeah, absolutely. Any other responses?
I felt really annoyed, actually.
Annoyed? I love that. I want this kind of response. Why annoyed? Do you mind me asking?
It just, I don't know, it was just like, oh, just shut up,
Yeah, okay, so I'm irritated. Yeah, I was happy just for, just 10 seconds before. And suddenly you've annoyed me. Just a piece of music. It's amazing, isn't it? Any other responses? Huh? Uncomfortable, yeah. Perhaps deliberately incongruous to the surroundings, speakeasy, chill vibe, dim lit, let's put swastika eyes on, quite uncomfortable, probably a different scenario that should be in. Right, stop there, pause there. What just happened there for all of you doing that exercise was a change of state, okay? And just listening to those responses in the room, thanks, feel free to keep calling out. What do you notice in the responses? They're a bit different. Number one, they change for individuals. So change like that in not that long a time. Few seconds, and suddenly my heart's going faster. I'm frustrated. I'm happy. Physical response. I'm swaying to, yeah. And that's a state. That's a state change, and they happen in seconds like that. That someone walking into a room that you don't know in a meeting, that could change your state. Being asked a slightly difficult question in the room can change your state. So state changes the whole time. You don't have a whole day of going, good state today, nailed it. It's in constant ebb and flow. And also just the variety of responses. What do you notice in that?
Personal.
It's personal, yeah? You can't guarantee when you do something in a meeting, when you try something out, you're hosting an event and we go, we want people to feel like this. You can't be guaranteed that everyone will have the same resulting state from whatever you try. So it's different, it's personal, and we've got to be aware of that. It's not necessarily the same for us as it is for other people. So we are going to explore what state's all about, but based on the fact that it's constantly changing and it's unique to us. So I'm going to give you a bit of common language around what makes up your state. Then we'll have a bit of a conversation about that. So there are 4 different energies that make up your overall state, how you are in a given moment of time, okay? You've probably heard these before. The first one is your mental energy, So for me, good mental energy, if I'm going to put a label on when I'm in good mental state, I would say I am focused, okay? There's not too many other distractions going on. When I'm not in good mental state, it's often when I've got too many other things going on in my head, I've become overly loaded, I'm too busy. How else could you describe you in a not so good mental state? What might be going on for you? Right, okay, so there's some judgment calls going on about you and perception of other people. Those voices in your head making judgment calls the whole time, yeah. Anything else? Pressure. Tell me more about pressure. Yeah, no, as in what? Yeah, no. Yeah, well, no. Tell me how do you know you're feeling pressure?
Like deadlines, multiple
Yeah.
different opinions.
Yeah, fantastic. So in your world especially, constant deadlines and a lot of stakeholder management to worry about and all those things. Yeah, okay. Now, they're sometimes good, knowing that there's pressure, knowing that there's stakeholder. But when it gets on top of you, that becomes then an issue and you don't necessarily perform at your best. So have a little think about mental state. I'll give you a couple of prompts on that. Second thing is energy of state is your physical energy. Okay? So let's say you were working with a group of people, you're in a meeting room. What might good physical state look like to other people? If someone's looking at you, they often notice when you're not quite in state through your physicality. If they looked at you and went, they look like they're in the zone today, how might they be describing you, do you think?
No bags under your eyes.
Yeah, so no bags under your eyes. It's interesting, isn't it? The whole power of sleep and recovery is so vital now. Anyone read the book Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker? Anyone read that? Yeah, it's been a recommendation on a previous workshop for Elevate. Read it. It's a really good book. The danger of the book is it's all about sleep, and it mentions the word sleep every 3 sentences. So it took me 9 months to read it, genuinely, because it talk about a cue, anchoring effect. So, but it does talk. The writer of the book, Matthew Walker, was speaking at a Google event I was at in town in Covent Garden, and he did this great thing of saying, right, hands up in the room. If you get more than 5 hours. Let's do it now. Who gets more than 5 hours sleep a night? Okay. Who gets more than 6? Who gets 7 or more? Who gets 8 or more hours? 8 to 9 hours a night. Wow, that's quite a high percent. Everyone look at these people in the room. Matthew Walker argues, look at these people. They're the winners. They're the winners. Because the science shows that we need 8 to 9 hours sleep per night, actually, to perform mentally well the next day. So this isn't just about kind of. There's also you live longer, and you on average, and you're also more positive. So, but you perform better mentally. Dare I say, most of us in the room are knowledge workers. We're paid for our expertise in our brains. So physicality helps us with that. So getting a good night's sleep. How else might they perceive that person's in good physical state?
Body language.
Body language. What kind of body language?
Open.
Open. Yeah, so it might be physicality. You're open to the group. You might be pivoting round. Yeah. Any other thing that would say open?
Posture.
Yeah, attentive. What was that? No, sorry, that was a terrible joke. Attentive. So eye contact helps with that. Although beware going on those body language courses where they train you to look at everybody once in a meeting for a period of time, because it gets awkward and obvious that you're doing that. And also the other one where you zoom in on someone that's giving you lots of appreciation, you go, and you only focus on them. You're like, yeah. And this story I'm going to tell, it's really weird when you look in someone's eyes in a meeting and talk directly into their eyes for a minute. You violate kind of etiquette. There was something from the bar? Smiling. Yeah, the power of a smile. It implies they're having fun, and therefore other people might have fun as well. But again, the world of work sometimes bans smiling, because when you're smiling, you're not working hard enough. There's a lovely phrase at Google, which is from the founders, which is, you don't have to be serious to solve serious problems. Do it with a smile on your face. Others then want to be there. Not so good physical state. What might that look like? You're in a meeting. How might people read it if you're not quite there? Yawning as well, yeah. So a bit, yeah. Although, you've got to, understanding others is a really important thing. I used to work with a friend of mine called Richard, really bright psychologist. When he was most engaged in a topic, he'd yawn. Right? So I was telling him about a brief we were working on. He'd go like this. It really disconcerting, but you knew, when I learned to know this about him, I thought, we're onto something here. We'll just get through the yawn and we'll get something genius back. So the other thing around physicality is just be mindful of how you might perceive other people, okay? The thing that often I notice is people's listening faces, right? I don't know if you've been working on Zoom, and if you're trying to judge people's, are they into this meeting or not by their listening face, Just show me now how you all look when you're watching your binge-worthy Netflix series. Show me the face, honestly, that you have as you're looking at a TV or your laptop. Just show it me now. Go. Right. If I was judging your engagement in me on screen by that, I'd be going, I've lost everyone. You know, people, we've got drool going on for some of you. We've got some people with, very static, but it can throw us. It can throw us. So all I'm saying, there's a lot of body language courses. I'm doing it now. To make a point, do this with your hands. So, to use open body language, don't fold your arms. I think a lot of it's about being natural, but being aware of how you might be coming across. Okay. Another little thought on that. Anyone seen Amy Cuddy's TED Talk on the power of physicality? It's a great, great watch if you haven't done. She talks about in high pressure situations, if you can just take a few moments before and get into a power pose, okay? Is everyone up for one? Everyone just do this. Right, stolen from the animal kingdom. If you were to do that, I recommend in the bathroom before a high-stakes pressure situation, you can let go now, then you are more likely to walk into that more physically confident, and it's a knock-on effect, more physically confident, more mentally focused as well, less of those voices popping up in the head, okay? So just be mindful of that. Apparently, I used to, when I was doing workshops and people felt as though I was in good state, I used to do the hands on the hips quite a lot before I got going. They ridiculed me so much on it, I don't do it anymore because they're just ridiculed. But actually, that was a sign of me being in positive state. Next one. Emotional. We're in the UK right now. Dare we talk about emotions? Ask most people how they are, they're fine. I think it's amazing with emotions. I think if there's a lot of emotions around projects. Say it's a project you're working on now, it's quite high stakes. What are some of the emotions that are floating around that potentially? Excitement. What else? Fear. Yeah. Which can, often two very different words, but actually they might be the same thing going on really, but we've badged it as fear. Yeah. What else? Uncertainty. Yeah. Passion. Any more emotional words? Pretty good for a British-based audience tonight. No, we just get, it's okay, carry on, Matt. Let's not talk about this. I guess the thing with emotions is not to ignore them. Emotions can fuel great thinking, So I used to work a lot in innovation, and actually some of the best projects we worked with was where there was a huge pain point or frustration, and if you can use that emotion to kind of work from, you can then lead to really exciting work. So, and I think emotion as well, if you think about events, thinking about what is the emotional journey like for the group that we're working with on this conference? How might they be feeling when they walk in? How can we adapt and affect them in a positive way around that? So a really useful thing to harness, because we are emotional creatures, aren't we? Yeah? Cool. Final one. So we've done physical, we've done mental, we've gone emotional. Final one. We're in a bar. No, I see what you're going there, yeah. Spiritual, yeah, it is spiritual. What I am not talking about here is religion, although actually it is totally, it's a normal activity to use religion and faith in order to keep perspective and stay in good state. What I'm talking about here when it comes to work is a sense of connection. A sense of connection to the work that you're doing, or the people that you're working with on that project, okay? So if I was gonna do a bit of a poll now and go, you started the Elevate journey how long ago, Max and Mel?
7 years.
Oh, sorry, I mean this squad.
Oh, this spot.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
This is the beginning of February.
Beginning of Feb. Would you say the sense of connection with this group of people is better than it was at the start? Yeah. Because you've had a few connections, you've met your mentors, have met mentees, and that will build over time. It's why we're getting together. And think about that on a project team sometimes. You get bundled together on a project. It's so important to get that connection going at the beginning in order to do good work together. When you feel like, I haven't worked with Susan before, but actually we're building that connection. If we've got that connection, when the hard times hit, actually we can collaborate really well. Okay, it's why companies spend thousands of dollars, euros, etc., on getting really clear company purpose statements, because people in the weeds of their work go, but actually it's laddering up to this. This is a pretty powerful thing. Okay, so there we go. 4 different energies of state. I'm going to give you some tips around this now. My first tip is, when we get into a busy working day, I don't think we spend often enough just having a bit of a pause for 5 minutes and just going, how am I doing today? It's often at the end of a day over a beer or on that train journey home where you're going, how was today? And you start to either intentionally or subconsciously unpack the day and start to make sense of it. So big advice number 1 is give yourself a lunchtime state check every single day. Okay? As much as possible, take you 5 minutes. So I'm going to get you to do something now. What first thing I need to do, I need you to get a bit of a thinking buddy for the rest of the session. So I'd love you to just find a neighbour, eyeball them, nod, and go, you're my buddy. Say hello. Introduce yourself if you don't know each other. Ask how are you? Ask how are you? Good, thanks. Okay, and if you're listening to the podcast at home, do this with a buddy at home. If you're doing it in the office, you could grab somebody. If you've got no one else in the house, just talk into a mirror. It's really normal. Okay, that's enough introductions. That is enough introductions, right. I am going to do something now where I'm just going to, in a moment, I'm going to get you to carry that conversation on. And I'm just going to get you to do a bit of a review of how today was for you. Okay? Physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I'm just going to give you a few almost like provocative questions to get you there. Not provocative, just prompts, right? Are you ready to let these questions, you don't have to write them down, let them wash over you. Are you up for that? Yeah. Right, so listen to my northern tones. Right, mental, the first area. What's the big thing that you were working on today? And did you stay true to that? What's distracting you from that big thing? Okay. Physically, what did your body need today? What did it need? And the other one is, were there any working moments, any mental activity today that you could have coupled a physical activity with? Could you have got yourself moving a bit? Third question's around emotional. How are you feeling about the project you're working on right now? I want you to label at least one feeling. Label the feeling. And then the second question around that, is it helping you do good work, that feeling? Is it fueling you to do good work? Final one, spiritual. How connected are you to the project or the people that you're working with on that project? Everyone give me an ooh. They're interesting questions. You don't have to remember them all. All I'd like you to do is turn and face that buddy again. I'm going to give you 2 minutes each way. I want you to give a little state check on today. How have you been physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually? 2 minutes each way. Find out how you got on. Away you go. Okay, everyone. I regretfully bring that beautiful conversation to a close. Give your buddy a grateful high five. Yeah, fantastic. And then, really bad crowd management for me. Yeah, and then everyone just started again. I love that. No, great. So, I mean, observation for me is that was a fairly animated discussion, okay, which is good. A note to self for the future. Elevate crew are quite loud. That's good. Good to know. But I'd love just to find out, Did anyone notice anything in their day where they're going, actually, there's something that I do that really helps me? What about one, it might be something physical, mental that I know.
Swimming in the sea.
There we go, swimming in the sea. So tell me,
If I don't swim in the sea, I feel like shit.
there we go.
It changes my world.
Do you mind me asking a couple of questions? So when do you do it? Yeah. When do you do it?
7 o'clock.
7 a.m.
Yeah.
And so that's a very physical
Don't
thing.
judge me, please don't
No,
judge
it's
me.
not. Very physical thing. Can you tell me what it does for you from a... I would imagine there's quite a lot of the other three energies it has an impact on.
Most of the energy.
Right, okay. So how does it help you mentally?
It focuses my brain.
Yeah,
It makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Honestly, it is a life changer.
yeah.
All move to Brighton.
All move to Brighton. Hashtag all move to Brighton. Other seaside towns are available. Don't worry, yeah. So one act, and actually, I would imagine, especially this time of year, how long are you in the sea for?
Now about 7 minutes.
Yeah. So there's obviously getting there. Have you got a dry robe as well?
No, I've got a dry robe, but I don't swim in a wetsuit.
Right. Oh, yeah. Round of applause for that. Yeah, fantastic. Do you have neoprene socks, though? That's the question.
I've got, it's pebbles. I've got
Pebbles.
pebbles.
Too much detail from Matt. There we go. Just doing a bit of sea tech. So, amazing. One physical action, and it sets up all the other energies for the rest of the day. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else notice anything that's going on? Thank you.
I like to have a little dance party sometimes. If your energy's low, put a good song on and have a little dance party.
Fantastic. Now, do you mind me asking where that is?
Just like in my house, like getting dressed. Just
Great.
like, put a good tune on, have a little dance party.
A little dance party. Fantastic. So, again, a physical act. Then, what does it do for the others, do you think? How does it help you be better at your job?
I think if you put a good song on, it makes you smile. And
Yeah.
the forced smile then just makes you feel happy.
Yeah.
And obviously you're shaking your body around, so there's probably some science behind that, like blood flowing, oxygen,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
feel like elated.
Could we normalise dance parties for blokes?
Oh,
Yeah. Max, the stage is yours. Yeah. In fact, we'll end with that. We'll end with Max on his own, dancing. Benny will put another track on. That's a good way to end, isn't it? Yeah. Fantastic. Max, thanks for volunteering. I was wondering what the wrap-up was going to be. Let's go. With Mel looking on in disdain. That's what we're going to go for. Yeah. Okay, right. So amazing, yeah. And I would imagine short little burst of it and has a long-lasting effect from it as well. So a couple of things going on there. If you'd gone back 100 years and looked at most of us in this room, most of our roles would have been jobs involving some form of movement. So if I go back 100 years, my great-great-granddad then was, he was a manager of a mill. And he has to walk all day because they had two different sites, and he's walking around, checking everyone was all right, checking all the machinery was working okay. 90% of us were in jobs that involved a bit of movement in our day. Fast forward to now, what is it? It's 90. Now, it might be a bit skewed. Events industry, when you're on site, a bit more physicality involved. 90% of us, the tables have turned, are in jobs that are most of the day sedentary. So we are caged animals at certain points of the day. So whatever we can do physically to inject some of that in, it will give us more mental focus. It'll allow ourselves to make sense of stuff. Who does their best thinking on the move? Yeah. Why do we sit down trying to think then? At a desk with 20 tabs open at the top. Get some movement in our day, and the reward is massive. Okay. So that's why I said before, what kind of activities do you do that you could couple with physical activity? You know, it's the reason why a lot of the tech companies in Silicon Valley have the kind of out-of-city campus type arrangement. It's because the real estate's cheap, number one. But number two, it's because they've got massive green spaces around because they see the value in physical movement as part of your day to do good thinking. Okay? I'm up for a dance whenever. You know, we could go Zoom elevate party. Max could lead the way, maybe putting some steps in for us, and we could all follow. Be great. Fantastic. Okay, any other examples of things that you do that actually really enhance your performance, your state? Any other good examples? Got dancing, swimming.
Sorry, cycling.
Say again. And give me an example of taking care of yourself.
I don't know, for me what it works is like eating in a certain way
Yeah.
and building my confidence in a way.
Yeah. So being deliberate about what you eat, how you eat it, not...
Also, exercise,
Yeah.
everything is involved.
Fantastic. So
What I like, everything.
Yeah. So injecting in your day things that you enjoy, make you feel good, make you feel confident, deliberately. Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. On the reverse, what things that you noticed around your description of today where you're going, actually, that was making my state plummet a little bit? What things were going on? Sitting on a busy train. Yeah, that can. What impact has that on you in terms of your kind of impact in your work? What does it do for you when you're in that?
So for me, I'm quite impacted by my space.
Yeah.
So busy space, my head gets clouded. Usually I try and use travel to kind of think.
Yeah.
So it makes me a bit of a...
So a physicality of the environment suddenly becomes, a thing that affecting your mental ability, focus. There's a bit of emotion going on there as well. It sounds like frustration. Yeah, exactly. Any other things you notice?
Grouchy, rude people.
Grouchy, rude people. So it's other people. You're in flow. You've got that clarity for the day, and it could just be an offhand comment at the wrong time of day. Someone not quite as passionate about a project as you and externalizing that in a meeting. Suddenly, your state has gone. Yeah, it affects you mentally, spiritually, etc. So that is tip number 1 of the session. Is I think lunchtime is a really good opportunity to reset for the day, rather than wait until that train journey home going, that was a bit of a 5 out of 10 day. I think we all have to eat, fair to say, and whatever we eat at lunchtime, even if we've got 5 minutes, if we could just spend a minute, 2 minutes just going, how am I doing? Then you can actually course correct, because these things have an impact on each other. You hear people say, I'm mentally exhausted, and so they have an impact and you can do something about it. A tip around this generally is the more awareness you have, everyone just stroke their imaginary beard, if you haven't got one. If you've got one, fine. Just say the more awareness you have, the more options you have. Give me a new. That is deep. That's deep shit for a Wednesday. Okay. Next tip is this. So if you're working with teams, and you don't have to be the leader of the team, you don't even have to be the leader of the meeting, the next bit of advice is do a state check-in with the rest of the group. I was actually working with a company that I advise at the moment. And I've got their MD in the group that I work with, and I've also got someone who's relatively new to the company. And it was the other week we're in a meeting. I drop into an advisory meeting every month or so, and they handed to this relatively new starter to go, can you lead us on the state check-in? And it was just because this person really needed to find out how people was before she felt comfortable really collaborating with people. So she is now the leader of the state check-in. Yeah, and it's really important because sometimes, how do you normally start a meeting? How does it normally start? Say you're on a project, what do you normally get into at the beginning?
I ask what people have been up to.
Well, that's nice. That's almost a state. That's good. But say a regular meeting. Say it's a update meeting. What do you normally get into? Here's the agenda. Yeah. And then you normally get it, let's crack on with it, because we haven't got time and all those things. Whereas actually, if you just pause for a moment, sometimes it's a bit impromptu. Hey, how was your weekend? How was last week? How was that project you were on last week? But be deliberate about finding out from everybody, okay? I worked a few years ago with a team at the Nike Foundation. So the Nike Foundation is the social arm of Nike, if you will. And they have a big project in various countries around the world, which is empowering female teenagers to make better decisions in life and be equipped to make those decisions. And a lot of it around confidence. It's called Girl Hub. And they have a team based in Portland. Right, so Portland, Oregon, Nike HQ, very much about the brand of Nike. They have a team in London, in the centre of London, from DFID, Department for International Development, and they also have a load of people in places like Ethiopia. I visited there, Nigeria, doing very much on the ground, amazing work, reaching millions of girls, with the Nike brand and some brilliant learning and leadership principles. Now, imagine being in that team. When you join a meeting, all the different contexts going on. So you're at Nike HQ. It's beautiful surroundings. You got amazing campus. You've got athletes walking around. Everyone's dipped in Nike. Department for International Development in London, very different. You know, it's a government agency. It's a very different vibe. And then out in the field in different parts of the world. So what they saw the value in is just starting every meeting just by going, quick state check. They labelled it a state check-in. What's going on for people right now? And there's obviously things around time zone. You know, very different time zones from Portland to, let's say it was someone somewhere in Nigeria. There's also different context of where they're at with a project. Technology often a problem in certain parts of the world, causing issues and all those things. Find out what was going on for people. Because then with that context in mind, you can then lead that agenda that you're going to get into in a very different way. So often it's impromptu. Hey, how was your weekend? But actually, if you just, even if it's an hour's meeting, if you just spent 5 minutes going, genuinely, how is everyone? What's going on for people? What are some people's struggles, whatever it might be? It actually might course correct the style and the atmosphere of the meeting. All good? Tip number 2. Tip number 3, I've got a question for you, which is, when I'm talking about meetings here, so who's been in a meeting? Yeah, who's been in a meeting today? Okay. So there's loads of meetings that happen, and some have a really good energy and vibe about them, and some of them, you just get through it, don't you? You just coast and survive. What I'd love you just turn with your thinking buddies, I've got a bit of a question for you, which is, when you're in a really good meeting where there's a good atmosphere and it seems to flow well, collaboration happens easily, what has the instigator of that meeting done? What little tricks do they use to boost people's state? What do they do to make it, oh, that was a great moment in that meeting, or they got my attention there, or I felt more connected to the meeting? So when you're thinking buddies, just have that chat. What do people do that pep up people's state in a meeting? Away you go. Okay, everyone. Not an exhaustive conversation. Let's hear some examples. And by the way, it might be the tiniest thing that these people do. And it might be something you've done that's just boosted people's state. They go, I'm more engaged, I'm more connected, whatever it may be. What do people do?
Ask the question, what do you think?
Lovely. So throwing it over to the group is a really powerful thing. Whereas often a meeting, you know, someone leading a meeting, they put so much pressure that they have to lead the meeting and have all the best thinking. Throw stuff over to the group is a really good thing to do. Great. What else?
Alignment was one.
Tell me more about alignment.
So I had a meeting today where we got onto a topic and quite literally our paths had mirrored each other for 10 years and we had known each other, and it just kind of clicked, and
Love
suddenly
that.
it opened up this kind of almost secret cachet of kind of like connecting and chat and everything else, and it just kind of flew.
Great.
And it took off.
So seeing the value in getting common ground
Yeah.
before just going, let's get into this agenda, we need to talk about this and the other. Yeah. Great, fantastic. And sometimes that's deliberate. Sometimes it happens by chance. I think, you know, being deliberate about that. Great. Any others?
Acknowledgement and involvement.
Lovely. Tell me more about acknowledgement. I get involvement to a point, but tell me more about acknowledgement.
So no idea is a stupid idea.
Yeah.
Creating a place of safety where no one's frightened to say things because
Yeah.
they feel alienated. So making people feel very involved.
Yeah, which you're touching on another session I'm going to run later in the programme, which is about psychological safety. Big studies to show that a team that feels psychologically safe is a high-performing team. You can self-express without fear of being personally judged. But you've got to be deliberate about how you create that. And a lot of it is there's a great book by Amy Edmondson, The Fearless Organisation. There's a new book just come out 2 weeks ago called The Psychological Safety Playbook, which is 5 really simple plays you can use in meetings and interactions to get people feeling like this, like they're recognised. And a lot of it, you know, and by the way, everyone's a leader in this space, a bit like everyone's a host tonight. It's not just the leader needs to create these conditions, it's everybody. And I think that means people feel spiritually connected, mentally focused, all that kind of stuff. Lovely. Any other things?
Active listening.
What was that? Sorry, dreadful joke. Active listening. So tell me your definition of active listening. What's that all about?
Not just listening, like going through the motions, but
Yeah.
actually playing back to them and saying, so what you're saying is X.
Yeah.
And let everyone in the room be heard.
Yeah, fantastic. So it's a lot about inclusion, but it's also about seeking value from the response rather than just ticking the box of, I've listened. Yeah, exactly. Fantastic stuff. Any more? I love that. Yeah, just change it up. Yeah, so we're going in a certain direction. Right, We seem to have got to a point there. Let's shift it up here, change direction, doing something different.
Also, just like not doing a PowerPoint all the time. Or just
Lovely.
a sit-down meeting.
Yeah, fantastic. So change physicality, change the style that you deliver. All those things people go, yeah, change the location, yeah. Or just get half of your group in a bar and the other half, yeah. Have a piano on stage. I mean, well, but you know, hence why we're doing this evening here. You know, it feels very different to our normal working environment. So fantastic stuff. So what I'd say here is, this is all about the state of those around you. I think all of us can take it upon ourselves to be a state booster, okay, to the situation, whether you're leading the meeting or you're contributing to the meeting. You came up with some brilliant responses, most of which I've got here, but just a few I'll throw in as well. I've sometimes just getting people to break out into pairs is a great way to change the dynamic of a meeting, because it just means that it takes it from, you know, loudest voice wins sometimes in certain meetings, or actually it's not that inclusive just to do call outs from everybody. So that's why I try to do a bit of have a conversation in pairs first. So that can really help in a situation. Dare I say it, every now and again, an energizer. Now, energizer has a bad rep in the world of work, by the way, often because people walk up to the front of a stage going, hey, I'm going to do an energizer. And everyone looks at them and going, you don't really want to do this, and I want to be swallowed whole by the sofa I'm in. But when they're done well, they're brilliant for getting physical, mental focus and connecting a group when they're used wisely. Using humour is a great way to enhance. If it's a really heavy situation, just a lightness of touch around the situation can often diffuse things. Telling a story can really help get a bit of mental focus going on, even a bit more connection. And then sometimes, dare I say it, sharing a bit of data around the problem you're working on gets people a bit more mentally into it, a bit more focused on it as well. So there's all kinds of things that you can do. But just the advice there is, if you're sensing in a situation, we could just boost this a little bit. Be that state booster. Don't wait for whoever's leading the meeting to do it, because people will generally appreciate it. Okay. Right. I'm going to do an energizer. Hey. So, everyone, it's kind of we're about halfway, just over halfway through. A bit of a tradition of mine is to do something. I think we've got a good connection in the group. Everyone's had a drink, alcoholic or not, in the room. So I'm going to do a little tradition of mine, which is what I call the party trick. Okay, so what's going to happen in a moment, I got Pete to write down every single person that's come tonight, and I've got a bag over there, and I'm going to pull one name out. So it's a bit like the National Lottery. It could be you, right? Okay. And what's going to happen is, I know, just because, I can just tell that everyone in this room has a bit of a party trick. It's the thing that when you're having a drink with friends, they go, go on, you can do that. You know, Max with his dancing. Pete's amazing at telling one-line snappy jokes. So collar him in the bar later on. So I know that everyone's got one. So what's going to happen in a moment? I'm going to do mine. I've had 5 piano lessons recently. So I'm going to go and play a song. Then one of you, I'm going to pick out the hat, and you're going to come and do it. All good? So I'll just quickly practice my song. So here, it's very easy. It's here we go. You get this, Jess. Lean on me. Go with us. Thank you. Sometime in our life. No, I won't go into that. Stop, man. Stop. We could make it all about that, but I'm not. Right, so that's going to be mine, but I'll actually get the mic over and do the song. Then next up is going to be the person in that bag, right? Okay, so, right. Who's really excited if their name's called out? Put your hand up. Danesh at the back, yeah, a couple, and then we've got a half, maybe. Who's there going, I need a few more glasses of wine before it's me, yeah? Those on the podcast, that's a majority of the room. Who in the room's going, please don't let this be me? Yeah? Actually, that is a majority of the room. Okay. Just to reassure you, we are not going to do that exercise. Okay. There is a bag there. There's no. I'm not going to do anything in the entire inspiration series that exposes someone, put you on the spot, make you do something silly, feeling that pressure. You're here to enjoy yourself and learn. But is it fair to say that there was a bit of a reaction in the room with your state? Describe what was going on for people, either mentally, physically, whatever. What was going on? Panic, fear. What am I going to do? Yeah, I love that. Or some people going, well, I've got 8 different things. What might it be? I mean, I might need to have a word with Benny about the sound constraints, but there we go. So, but most of us, there was a bit of energy. So again, just to recognise, that is your state. That is your state. Now, we're not going to do that. Just to reassure you, we're not going to do that. But what I want to highlight there is what you just felt there is how we can feel when we are in a high-stakes situation. Okay? So, again, this is going to be the shortest of your in-buddy conversations. I'm going to ask you to share with each other, what is a high-stakes situation you've got in the next few days? Okay, I'll give you one for me, just as an example. Next week, this time next week, I'm doing a speech I've never done before for a community I've never met. It's a bunch of innovation specialists in the world of the finance sector. Yeah, exactly. So I've got some stuff going on around that. It's a high-stakes moment. There's a few things going on in my head about how to pitch that and how to go about it. What's a high-stakes moment for you? It doesn't have to be a public speech. It could be something that you're running as part of a project. Quick conversation in pairs. 30-second conversation. Okay. Let's hear some high stakes moments. Let's hear a few examples just to get a bit of a flavour around this. Shout a few out. What have we got?
Coronation.
Say again. Yeah, you do.
Watched that before.
Yeah. All right. So you got King's. You're part of an event for the King's coronation.
I'm just watching it.
Oh, you're just watching it, right? It's high stakes, right? Okay. High stakes moments where you're involved. I mean, you are involved. You're watching it, but yeah. Any other high stakes moments coming up? New job, starting a new job, and so first few days making an impact, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, lovely. What else?
An event for Disney.
Event for Disney. There we go. Exciting. Yeah, great stuff. I mean, or even mentioning the brand. Ooh, I bet they do exciting events. There's a lot of pressure on that. Fantastic. Any more?
PDR?
A PDR.
Personal Development Review.
Personal development review with.
Someone reporting to me.
Yeah. So that is a high stakes moment because they're looking to you for guidance and that generous authority, if you will. So high stakes moment. And you said not done one before.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's a bit of
on this side of it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. Any others?
Baby.
A baby on the way.
Next week.
Congratulations. That is high stakes. So congratulations. We've got to give a round of applause and good. I'm glad Max said, and the babies, it's not like, no, I'm going for a baby. I said, yeah, when I get, So, So, being a good doula is your brief, as it were. Exactly. So, okay, so there's some moments so think about that moment you've got coming up. And I'm just going to give you a few tips. These are quite quick fire. And what I'm not saying is these tips will make you the ultimate in that situation, but they're things that I try, I really treasure, and I use. I think when I've done my best work, I've used these, almost to the letter. Okay, here they are. So whatever you've got coming up, the next tip is collide your thinking with a challenger. Okay. Does anyone have that person in their life that thinks very differently to them? Yeah. You often don't value that input because it's just at the wrong time. This is a moment to get that person, okay? And my advice is to tell them that you appreciate them challenging you. Yeah, in this particular instance. There's a really good book by Brené Brown called Rising Strong, Power of Vulnerability, and she talks about having some people that are very different in the way they think to you, sharing some of your challenges, the issues you're working on, and get someone to just play back their perspective from very fresh eyes. Adam Grant in the book Think Again talks about having a challenge network, people who deliberately out of your echo chamber, out of the events industry, who can really provoke you in your thinking. Play by your thinking with them and get a naive, fresh, sometimes provocative opinion. I was talking to Danesh over there and the team from Hells. Danesh works as a coach with them. That is part of Danesh's role, is to kind of be that challenger. Listen, but then come forward with some observations and from fresh perspectives. So get outside the lovely bubble of your company, the world of events, and get challenged on your thinking. It will help you in that moment there go, I've been given some more food for thought on that. I might have even changed some of the way I'm going to go about it. The next tip is visualize everything. Okay? Now, there's a lot of talk about getting in good state, about visualizing success. Okay? And that is a good thing. When you do presentation skills, for example, people teach you about picturing people with smiles on their face before you go into it, rather than everyone looking at you with dread and not having any eye contact. But I think sometimes if you only visualize how it's all going to go to plan and not think about what might not go to plan, then you might be missing a trick. I mean, on visualizing success, important thing to do. Muhammad Ali, when he lost his very first, the first fight he ever lost, he was interviewed afterwards. And he said a beautiful quote, which was, the other guy had a better picture, which is just visualized even more success at the end. But I think when it comes to high-pressure situations, a bit of a run-through in your own head, a bit of a walkthrough about what you might do, and visualize the things that might trip you up, okay? Because to quote another boxer, Mike Tyson, all plans are good until you get punched in the face. Okay, so visualize some of the things that might cheer you up and then think, what might I do if that happens? Because things often go wrong, okay? So visualize everything. Next thing is a bit of pre-game prep. Who sometimes bounces into a high-stakes moment, like a meeting, it might be a pitch, it might be whatever, with the same amount of prep as they do to just a regular catch-up and a team meeting? Yeah? We often don't put the same... Now, in the world of sport, they're very clear as to what is a high-pressure moment. It's the big events. It's tonight, Man City versus Arsenal. It's a big moment, dare I say it. Don't disappear on your phones. Do that in about 10 minutes, find out what's going on. But they're very clear when they need to be at their best, and they protect the time just before they're about to start. A good athlete, even doing 100 meters, will be half an hour warming up, getting mental focus right. The world of work, we often bounce out of one meeting, back-to-back meetings, into high stakes without that prep, okay? So give yourself that prep. I see tonight it's quite high stakes. You've all come out for this event. And Pete and Max are giving me some feedback, which was, you get in the venue quite early. I was in here at 5 p.m., connecting with Benny, making sure all the environment's right, walking through what I'm going to do tonight. And I think, if I consider how I've been tonight, it's a very different scenario than I normally work. I don't normally do this content in a speakeasy on a Wednesday night, I'll be honest. So, but actually a bit of a walkthrough, a bit of a talk through, and getting in that pre-game mindset means I'm more likely to be at my best. Okay, so think about that with your high pressure moment, how are you protecting that time a few moments before? Get physically in the space. Can you find your sweet spot? Are you feeling comfortable in there? Have you done a run through of, if it's two of you, bouncing between each other as to what you're going to do? Those things really help. Then when you get into the heat of battle, we're ready to go. Okay. Next tip is engineer a positive start. Okay, so if it is a high-stakes moment, say it was a pitch. I used to do a lot of pitches in my old agency. And I used to always get landed with the person that introduced the company. And I found it really weird that was the first thing I talked about. It just wasn't me to go, hi, our company does this, and this. And I used to notice that every time I started explaining what our company did, as the first words in that pitch, I started to go red. Okay. Which for me is a telltale sign that I'm losing state slightly. And so what I started to do is go, I will introduce the company, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the group to introduce the company. So I used to then do a quiz, go, how many different offices do we have around the world? And they'd go 5, actually 6, and I'd then explain it. but because I really enjoy interactivity of other people. And it's something I was good at and enjoyed doing. And I found it a much more informal way rather than what felt quite formal. This is what we do as a business. Okay. Also got the group speaking up and involved, enhance that psychological safety. So engineer a positive start up for that high stakes moment that you've got coming up. Okay. So a few tips there. We've got collide your thinking with someone else. Visualize everything that could go right, could go wrong, and how might you adapt. Engineer a positive start and have that pre-game prep. Okay, so what I'd love you to just quickly do, turn and face that buddy. What are you going to do differently? One thing to boost your confidence, your state around that high stakes moment. Very quick conversation in pairs. One thing you're going to do differently. Okay, folks. Okay. Any quick examples from the group? What are you going to do to get yourself in the best possible state before you go? Any quick examples? Thank you.
I'm going to bring snacks and go 10 minutes early.
Love that. Bring snacks. Good for you and good for the group. Go 10 minutes early. So there's a lovely principle with a sports team that used to live by the coach's rule that you don't arrive on time, you arrive on Lombardi time, which was always 10 minutes. You got all the team to set their clocks 10 minutes before, so that actually you're always ready to go and before the meeting started. You know, if you can live by that, it's a fantastic thing. Great. Snacks are always good. What else?
Stop overthinking. Overthink people.
Fantastic. Loads of stuff could go wrong. But if you think about those, put them to one side and go, if they go wrong, I can do it. But some of it's not down to me. That's fine. So love that. Not overthinking.
Things when they actually happen.
Yeah. Exactly. So when things happen, I think the trick of just going through some of the things that might trip you up. I wouldn't go so dark as to go, the competitor's going to break through the windows and steal our biggest client. I think it's more kind of going, oh, I've just thought, yeah, and it might not happen, but I'll know I can adapt if I've thought about it. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. Any more?
Remind yourself you're human.
Yeah. And other people are human as well. Yeah, so other people, if you say you're leading a meeting or it's a bit more high stakes, it's a bit more on you, other people are looking at you going, I'm glad that's not me. And so, they want you to do well and know that there's going to be flaws involved, know that they might struggle with some of the things you're doing. So we're all human. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, I'm going to end on a couple more tips, okay? And then we can connect and carry on the conversations. It's been brilliant how active you've been all night. Very quick story. So a few years ago, I was working for an innovation company, and we had some great clients. We did everything from working in healthcare to banking, but every now and again, a project came up where you were like, I need to be on that. And I got one of those projects. It was helping Lego innovate for 5 to 9-year-old kids. Okay, regain that kind of, because they kind of disappeared off into this world of Lego, tech and digital. And actually, it was all about helping kids be creative, be playful and build, learn through playing. And it was a movement to do that, and it was creativity attached to that, and it was a program I was really excited to jump on. So I had the initial conversation with the client. It went really well. Head of HR for Lego globally. And then I went on holiday for 2 weeks. I came back, and it was our weekly team meeting. And we're all sitting down. And as part of that meeting, we were going through the client list, going who's working on what client, what state is it up to. And we got to Lego, and the leader of the team went, yeah, so Spence, how's it going on that? And I was like, it's me. And anyway, I'd been moved off Lego. And I found out about this on a Monday morning, to the first hour back from holiday, really excited to work on Lego, and I'd been moved off the account. You tell me, what do you think was going on in my head? Fury. What did I do wrong? Definitely kicked in. I had a voice in my head which was, they've been talking about me behind my back. So I've been away for 2 weeks. I had another one, which is, Matt, you should never go on holiday again. Okay. Are any of these voices helpful for me to stay in state? No. I was bright red. I was livid. The slight kind of chippy northerner came out in me, and I was about to attack. But because I've been trained around the power of state, I held back. I sat there, was grumpy and a bit silent through the meeting, smiled half-heartedly a few times, walked around the park twice, and then I went to my manager and went, "Can we talk?" He went, "You were a bit quiet in the meeting this morning." I went, "Yeah, I was thinking exactly what you were thinking." So, and I went back and went, "This is what happened. We started the relationship with Lego a few weeks ago, went on holiday, I've come back, I've been found I'm not on it anymore. And I've lost it, I'll be really honest. I'm thinking, and I said all the things. One of them was, I'm not best placed to work on Lego, was another one, okay. So, I had a conversation about it all, and my boss at the time, Jim, who's a good friend of mine to the day, he said, "Matt," he said, "just to let you know, we have chatted about this while you've been away, but not in anything vindictive. We've recognised that a couple of things. Matt, so Spence, the other guy, he's called Matt Spence, he does have little kids. And actually, having someone that understands the 5 to 9 year old bracket would be quite advantageous on this. And we're going to have Matt work on that. He said, we also recognise that you're really good at kicking off client relationships, and we'd like more of that from you. And actually, this is now established, so someone else can run it for you." And I was like, "Oh, this is good." Right, so I've been framed in a very different way. And I only got there by stopping, pausing, and getting aware of some unhelpful voices in my head. If I'd let the anger rise within me, what do you think might have happened with my boss at the time? Resignation. Yeah, I might not go as far as resignation, but at one point, one of my voices was, "I therefore must leave." It really was. I might have to jump to another team or whatever. So I did go that dark. So my big advice is, and this is one, mentors, mentees. If you've got a high-stakes situation going up, or if something doesn't go quite to plan, list some of the voices that are going on in your head. Little question, who has voices in their head? Yeah. If anyone's there saying, "I don't have voices in my head," that was it. So listen to them, call them out, because they're often unhelpful, they're often false, and they're not serving you well. You can often then laugh about them, okay? And this is a massive link to the next session that's going to be on imposter syndrome. So we have Evie Manuel from the department, an immersive agency, the managing director there, coming to talk about imposter syndrome, because often one of the voices is, "I'm going to get found out here." Yeah, I've definitely had that. So we're going to explore that in the next of the inspiration sessions. Final tip before you get going is respond, don't react. So when you notice your state slip, if you can think about some of the voices going in your head, explore them, go, are they helping me? Is that useful? Then it helps you respond versus react. React is often knee-jerk. It's often with a bit of emotion attached. It's often immediate. If you pause for a minute, 30 seconds, sometimes 10 seconds, allow yourself 3 deep breaths, it actually takes you to a more mentally aware place. And with more awareness, you have more options. Yeah. So if you can aim for response versus react, you'll definitely keep in better state. Final thing I'm going to share with you before a bit more connection going on in the group. Guess which sport I am a closet fan of. Netball. I am actually. A good friend of mine used to play for Great Britain, so I did watch a lot of it, but it's not that. Gymnastics. You don't want to see me do gymnastics. I can barely do a forward roll. It's not that.
Bowls.
Huh? Bowls. It's not bowls. Cricket. I'll give you a clue. Max also plays this game, but he won't do after next week because he'll have multiple children. Yeah. Golf. Hideous. Mate, I've lost half the audience. I do it not for the committee meetings. I do it for the amazing fresh air. I'm going to tell a quick story about golf just to end on, which is this. So you don't have to be into sport to resonate with this conversation. So anyone heard of Rory McIlroy? Yeah, okay. So world-renowned golfer, lots of sponsorship. But very early on in his career, 21 years old, he was in a competition called the US Masters, one of the biggest competitions in the world. It's a 72-hole competition, and up until hole 64, he was in the lead by 4 shots. And if you're leading by 4 shots at golf, it's very rare that you lose, really. You'd have to do some really bad stuff to lose, just a few pars and then you're done. He hit 1 bad shot, okay, on that hole. It was a drive that went out to the left. And rather than pause, think about what was going on in his head, think about how he was physically, he let it get to him. You could physically see it I was watching it on TV, you could see this individual, technically amazing, start to lose it in his own mind. By the end of those last few holes, he dropped from first place, winning by 4 shots, to joint 7th. And he lost the US Masters because of 1 bad shot. And I would argue that's down to state, how he was. Same technical ability, played brilliantly for all those holes, 1 bad shot. So what's the 1 bad shot, that affects you sometimes? And if you just pause, think about, does it really matter what's going on for me? You can then retain that state. Now, the good news is, the year later, the US Open, 22 years old, loads of coaching around state, the voices in his head, loads of coaching, loads of psychologists working with him. The same happened again. In the lead, had a bit of a wobble. He paused and he got set and he powered on and he won the competition. Little quote from him to end on, which I think sums up state. Well, this was at the end of the one that he lost. Well, that wasn't the plan. I found it a bit tough today, but you have to lose before you can win. This day will make me stronger in the end. Okay, so how you are, everyone, is more important than what you know and what you do. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Elevate is a pioneering free mentoring program that has been designed with a specific goal in mind: to inspire, inform, and empower people within the events industry. Elevate in this podcast is powered by the generosity of our partners and supporters. We are Collider, Our Live, The Hoxton, Special Source, The Venue Group, the Association of British Professional Conference Organisers, Castle Bell, Event Decision, Times 10 and TRO. Together, we're changing lives, careers and the events industry for the better.